Okay, so this session is to discuss using GitLab Development Kit for people working on Auto DevOps. So happy to have Tong Kwa, a senior backend engineer from GitLab. Tong, I'll turn things over to you and then you can go ahead and take it away.
Cool, thanks, Ray.
Yeah.
We also have here Tiger as well, who is also a senior backend engineer from my team as well, and he's also a GDK maintainer too. So today's session is going to be just going through installing GDK, specifically to test and run Auto DevOps. So for those who don't know Auto DevOps, as a quick intro, Auto DevOps is a set of templated pipelines that GitLab has developed that will allow you to build, test, and deploy to Kubernetes clusters. So it builds. So the two main components is that it builds some Docker containers and then it deploys to Kubernetes clusters. So with regards to GitLab Development Kit, the main thing is that we need to basically make the GDK instance accessible to the internet so that the Kubernetes cluster can talk to your talk to your local instance, because the default mode is set in localhost, which means that they can't talk to your instance. So I've already kind of run through a few things already, as you can see on my screen. So basically, we're going to assume that the GitLab Development Kit has been set up already on the machine. So the steps that I have run through just quickly is that I've gone through the preparation, which is just installing all the dependencies. And then I've run through the setup, which is basically not that one, but this line here, GDK install with the GitLab repo. I had to do this prior because it takes a while to clone the repository, which takes about 500 megabytes, and it also takes a while to install the dependencies. So you can see some things that's been run here already. So now that we have it running, and this is the localhost machine, the next step that we can try is going through this handy guide here to configure your. So there's kind of two flows here. One involving GitLab team members, where we have access, where GitLab has provided access to a kind of a jump box to tunnel traffic through from the internet to the local machine. The other option, if you do not have access to this kind of jump box, is configuring your own Nginx proxy involved so that you can tunnel internet traffic to your local GDK. And that's in the bottom of this development doc here. Cool. So what we're going to run through is we're going to run through the one involving the jump box, the QA tunnel. So I've already had this previously. So the next step I'm going to do is run. So I'm in the GDK. We're going to run this few things to enable. Probably make my screen bigger. Cool. So what we're doing here is just saving some settings, namely Auto DevOps enable. So that tells GDK that we want Auto DevOps, and what GDK will do is it will configure two tunnels to funnel internet traffic into your local GDK instance. And the last step is GDK configure. Okay. It's telling me that something has changed and it won't apply this. So what I need to do is remove this, reconfigure again, just following the instructions. So by default, GDK will not overwrite your YAMLs that it has generated, just in case you have manually edited files. So what I've done there is that I just allowed GDK to completely reconfigure that file. Oh, it's got more. Okay, that's fine. So it's finished that, but I note another warning there again. So instead of kind of reconfiguring again, what we can do is we can follow instructions and just remake that specific file instead of running reconfigure all over again. Great. So if I kind of have a look at the proc file again, at the bottom, you can see that it has created some tunnels as well, which is fantastic. So after we run GDK reconfigure, there's this message here, which is really handy. So it tells us that it has gone ahead and configured your GDK instance such that these two URLs are now accessible to the internet. The main address is really the GitLab instance, which hosts the GitLab web interface. This here is more useful for the Kubernetes clusters to fetch kind of container images from that. So it has host. That's what enabling registering and this register enable does. But with Auto DevOps, this is all completely configured for you, so most of the time you don't have to worry about that. So if we can now go to the browser, navigate to this. Yes, it won't have it. So of course, because GDK is not even available. I had a previous GDK instance, so let's stop it. So need to start GDK. Oh. So I'm not sure what's happening there with no such file directory, but we can kind of run GDK tail to figure that one out.
Tong, that'll be all right. It just takes a while to start up.
Okay. Thanks. So yeah, it's doing things. So if I refresh, still says no flash file directory. Where's web? That looks helpful because it started 2 Unicorn Puma workers. And something's happening. That's an interesting error message. That's not an error message that I'm used to. Because I'm usually saying it can't connect or something like that, not no such file directory. And when we probably hope to allow JavaScript as well. So I kind of forgot to mention like why this is useful. Teams. So I did mention that it's useful for it's useful for Kubernetes to access your local GDK instance. But really it's doing two things really, as far as I know. Tiger, feel free to jump in here as well. One is that the Kubernetes, the runner installed in Kubernetes can register itself with your local GitLab instance. And the second thing is that Kubernetes pods can fetch images from your local GitLab container registry. Any reason why we need this, by the way? You know, Tiger? Oh, you're muted.
I think that's all. That's all the reasons.
Okay.
I guess it could help if you wanted to share what you're working on with people that weren't local, but this is all for Kubernetes.
Yeah. Yeah, for that we have review apps, isn't it? So, because you know when you run a CI pipeline, if you're a GitLab team member, our CI pipelines would spin up a review app that you can share with everyone. Cool. So this is really useful for people who develop and test with Auto DevOps, I guess. Slash GitLab. So kind of teams groups who currently use those things would be configure, monitor, fan, secure. So those are the kind of some of the engineers that have configured the Auto DevOps flow for that. So that's all done. That's great. So so I think we are all logged in, which is great. So I need to log in with a default password, which I can't remember. If you can remember the default password, I need to find it somewhere. Project overview. There we go. That's the default password. Signing in. Great, there we are. Some stuff. I reckon we should try keep going, see and figure some of these things. That makes sense. Okay, so let's see. Do we want to run one of these things? Run the integration tests. Yeah, maybe not. So do a quick demo instead of kind of writing Auto DevOps locally. So how do I do that? Let's make a new project. We'll import a minimal Ruby app. Minimal Ruby app. Can be internal. So the next thing that we need to do is create a Kubernetes cluster. Add a new Kubernetes cluster. So I should put it on GKE as well. So let's follow that. So that's the next thing we need to do is, so what we're currently doing is setting up the OAuth tokens for Google so that we can use the existing integration to create a new cluster on GKE. So go that we create a credential and we say OAuth client ID, choose configure consent screen. I see, I'm in the wrong thing. I don't want GitLab turn web application. Name, probably. A authorized JavaScript origin. So we need to follow the one that we have, which we can get it from here. So it needs to be HTTPS QA tunnel. Which port? This is the GitLab port, isn't it? Not the registry port. Am I right, Tiger?
Correct.
Thanks. Then, so authorized JavaScript origin. Not that one. Should really what? I should just copy the whole thing here. Paste that in, and then port is 24925. Enter. Okay, that works. Copy this one again. 24925. So basically, we require this for OAuth to work, and then we create. Not sure why it takes that long. Seems to be getting stuck here. Oh, it's reached its maximum. A minute. Probably reuse some other credentials, I guess.
There is a shared application that has lots of them in it that you could probably add it to.
Yeah, do you know which one? Doesn't say shared.
If you go back to the list.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list. I'm kind of not showing it right now, just in case. No, not that one. Oh, it doesn't matter. I can use Tiger's one. There we go. Tiger DevC. Yeah, I can't show it because it's got a client secret, and I kind of don't want it to
Sure.
do that. So, but I can certainly add it to Tiger DevC. Right? That's all right.
Yeah, go for it. I didn't even realize I still had that one.
Sounds good. Okay, so basically we just enter 24925. Just save it here. And then, so basically what we've done is that we've entered these two lines into existing OAuth client ID. And then what we need to do next is echo those things into that. So Tiger DevC. So in here, we can go echo that into and then the client secret will echo it someplace else. But I'll show you the file name later on. So it's Auto DevOps GDK echo. So we're just echoing that, really. So I basically just echoed this as well, which has the client secret. And then what we can do is we can go ahead to GDK reconfigure. Yeah. Okay, that shows that client secret too. Oh well, we'll probably delete it after this. Where is it? It's complaining that we need to apply these changes. So just need to do this really. Compiling. Okay, it's got that. So we just regenerate that so that we get our OAuth token or OAuth secret into our GitLab YAML. And we'll go GDK restart as well. Now we should be able to create GDK, a new GDK cluster from our GitLab instance. GDK tail again, takes a while. Yeah, it does say socket no such file directory. The key really is to wait for until you see the Rails web says that we're ready now and it's created 2 workers. Takes about 2 or 3 minutes. While we're waiting for this, do you have any questions? No. Okay, here we are. So, asking me to sign in again. That's okay. There we are. We'll create a new GDK instance. So, Auto DevOps test. And we'll select a CP project, which already has all the prerequisite APIs turned on. And we'll select somewhere closer to us, to my current location, so that it's faster to upload images and whatnot. The reason why I selected a minimal Ruby app instance, by the way, it's because it's minimal, so that the resulting image that it generates is much smaller. And one reason why it's much smaller is because we have a Docker file space. We are using Alpine, which is much smaller than the default Auto DevOps. The default Auto DevOps uses Ubuntu-based container, which is several, about 400 to 500 megabytes long. So, yeah, see, that's using Alpine. So creating clusters takes a while in general, but generally GK is actually the fastest in creating clusters. It takes about 5 minutes to create a cluster. It takes even longer on other platforms. But I think it is a work in progress, hopefully, where we can improve such things. Stop that. while we're waiting for the cluster to create, let's go ahead and disable some jobs that we know are going to take a long time. So by default, Auto DevOps creates a whole series of jobs. And one of the test jobs that it creates is code quality, which uses the code climate engine to verify, to kind of check the quality of the code and gives you various reports. Unfortunately, that takes several gigabytes of Docker images to download, so we're going to skip that because we're short of time. And you can skip that by setting the code quality disabled key and just some true-ish value. 1 is fine. Still being created. There we go. Oh, not created now, which is great. So go ahead and install Helmtilla. I'm not sure. Do you know that if this is necessary to have an internet accessible, this part? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. It's only when if you install the the runner needs to, once after you install it, it needs to register back. Yeah. So the minimum that I need is Helmtilla ingress and runner, because I haven't configured any runner, so I need a runner. And then ingress you require it so that your app has an IP or domain to connect to, really. So we'll go ahead and install both ingress and runner. Runner is installed, and ingress is installed as well. It's getting an endpoint. Shouldn't take long. The thing that I find amazing about this is that it consistently gives you an IPv4 endpoint. I guess Google has a lot of IPv4 addresses to give out.
I've actually started seeing them repeat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you see in the latest news that region have running on IPv4. Okay, so what we can do is, now that we have that, we just configure that as the base domain for the whole clusters. So this will go ahead and tell Auto DevOps that this is the domain you want for your Kubernetes cluster. And Auto DevOps will auto-generate a domain for you with this as the base domain. So it'll be like project name dot this dot base. Okay, so we have the cluster set up. So the very last thing we need to do is run a pipeline or commit something, and a pipeline will get created for you. But because we've already created all the code already that's necessary, we'll just run a pipeline manually. So if we run a manual pipeline right now, so it will create the default Auto DevOps pipeline, even though we don't have a GitLab CI YAML. So it will show the job in a moment. Interesting. Pretty slow.
I guess it's worth mentioning the reason this is so slow is because where we're currently located is very far away from the QA tunnel box. So it has to do a lot of round tripping.
Yeah, that's correct. And also, where I'm currently at right now, the internet connection is okay, but upload speeds, well, the upload speed that I'm on is throttled. So the main thing really, the main slowness here is really we are trying to upload a 10 megabyte JavaScript file up to the QA tunnel, and then takes like a much shorter amount of time to download the 10 megabyte file really. And that's because my upload speed is 10 times slower than my download speed. Cool. And as you can see, it's created 4 jobs for Auto DevOps. You build, test, production. So build will build a Docker image, and it will test the Docker. It will test the resulting Docker image, and then production will push a Helm chart by default using the Docker image that it has. And Kubernetes would then do its thing to pull down the image so that it can start the pods. Right? So I think we're kind of over time. So I think this is a good place to stop. Really. Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks.